what the hell's going on? I swear these laptops are looking at me and they recording everything I say and everything I do in my bedroom.
Oh,
it's crazy. Yeah. That's why I cover up all the cameras now. I get very paranoid when I'm on my laptop and stuff like that. I just cover them all up. I mean, they can hear me, but they can't see me. The most important thing is they shouldn't see me. It's just, I don't know. I just don't trust technology these days. You know, AI is going to kill us all. You know it. It's coming. It's coming. It's going to destroy jobs, first of all, for people. And then it's going to take over the world and we're all doomed. That's all I can say. But then
Skynet time.
Exactly.
Hopefully I'll be dead before.
Hopefully I'll be dead before that happens.
I'll be dead before the machines get me. Is that
exactly. Good luck, Charlotte.
I was going to say, Ian's going to be happy to be one of the old buggers at that point, then, isn't it?
That's right.
I just see Ian going down to breakfast tomorrow morning. He switches on the toaster. The thing jumps up and wraps its cord around his
right. Yeah.
Like a bad Final Destination movie.
Yeah.
This is the Spacebook, where we talk all out there entertainment, pop culture, talk around movies, TV, comic books, and more. Whether it's sci-fi and fantasy, horror, or just plain weird, it's on our radar and fair game for our panel to debate, discuss, and of course to take the piss. I'm here with a crack panel of pundits, as always.
We're all cracked, mate. We're all cracked.
not crackpot, crack. It means that you're clean-sighted on your target, mate.
Sorry, what?
Pick it all off with the pearls of wisdom that we know you for. Ian David Diaz, the mega geek, as always. I've got Queen Charlotte here as well, who you've seen on Type 40 Live and various other channels and shows across YouTube. Starry-eyed girl, Sarah Graham, the nation's favourite. She's here. It's the nation.
Brilliant.
It's the nation. Dairy milk.
People love you overseas as well, don't they? It's great. I thought it was dairy milk. Oh, absolutely fantastic stuff. So yes, we're laughing already. So yeah, it can't be all bad. But the reason why Ian and I wanted to ask you two on was because we know that the film that we want to talk about, we can only talk about it in a sort of roundabout way because the thing is that we haven't seen it. That's the thing.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be good to get you two in and find out what you thought about this latest film from Matthew Vaughn in particular. So Matthew Vaughn is the filmmaker behind the Secret Service adaptation, the Kingsman movies, isn't he? And he's done X-Men First Class? That was him, wasn't it? That thing, The Gentleman, that was him too. What other films has Matthew Vaughn worked on that can't spring to my mind at the moment? Kick-Ass, was that him?
He did Kick-Ass, yeah. He did Stardust.
I was going to say Stardust.
Yeah.
I love Stardust.
I love Stardust.
Yeah. But yeah, so you've been to the cinema in the last few days, haven't you both? And you've been to see one film in particular. So it's this one from Matthew Vaughn. It's called Argylle. It's written by somebody called Jason Fuchs. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it stars this multitude of names and faces we've seen in hundreds of other things. Henry Cavill, Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell. Haven't seen him in anything for a while. That's great news. Bryan Cranston's there, Ian. Catherine O'Hara, who I know I've seen in things but can't quite place. Was she Home Alone? Was she in Home Alone?
Yes, she was.
Yes.
The mother.
She's the mum, yeah.
Dua Lipa, she's in it as well. Ariana DeBois with John Cena and Samuel L. Jackson. What a fantastic cast makes up the characters of Argylle. It was in cinemas from February the 2nd here. And Ian, this is a film that we've been reading about for a couple of years, isn't it? It was sort of shrouded in mystery. We didn't really know what it was about. We just knew that there was a couple of good names attached to it. And we had a few stills about 18 months ago. And then the project kind of disappeared. I've got to be honest, I forgot all about it.
I mean, it's Matthew Vaughn film, isn't it? I'm not really a fan of Matthew Vaughn. I like the first few films that he made, like Kick-Ass, but I'm not really a big fan of his. I think he's very convoluted when he shoots his stuff. He's very. These days, seeing too much cleverness on screen kind of really irritates me now for some reason. Like the fight sequences he does, it's just too overcomplicated. Gone are the days when there were some nice little nifty fights from Die Hard and stuff like that, which really got you at the edge of your seat. But when you see somebody fly in the air in slow motion and push someone in a meat grinder, in slow motion with an impossible impossible way of flipping him and stuff. That then your mind just goes away. Just go, look, whatever. So he does a lot of that. So I'm getting a bit tired of that. But then that's just me. I know I know Matthew Vaughn has a lot of fans, and I'm pretty sure these two like this film. I don't know. We'll find out, right?
Ian, when we've spoken in the past about movies and the state of films in general on this show, the pair of us have bemoaned the fact that a lot of filmmakers have this resistance to bring the fun back. Matthew Vaughn films tend to be fun, don't they?
Yeah, they are fun. They are fun, but the thing is, as I said, right, these days, especially today, when I see a trailer with CGI in it, it just puts me off for some reason because I know it's not real. So when Matthew Vaughn, the last thing I saw Matthew Vaughn did was The Last Kingsman with the cowboy. They had the cowboy. There's loads of Kingsmen. That was that one where they were fighting in the diner. And they were doing impossible things like jumping in the air and spinning in the air and throwing a chair and all that. Just completely, I mean, just give me an ordinary fight for God's sakes. Give me some Jet Li or something like that.
What's
it's all
wrong
done.
with just punching somebody in the knackers?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, as I said, films are getting too overcomplicated.
Yeah.
Don't you guys think that it's getting too complicated? Not complicated, but too perfect. Like
I hate to admit it, but yes, I do completely see your point. This new one, it's had a bit of a journey to the screen. I'm not entirely sure why, but the tagline says the greater the spy, the bigger the lie. It's been sold as being based on a book, but I think the book that they've put out to go with the film is actually part of the story, because I've got the synopsis here, Sarah, and it says reclusive author Ellie Conway writes best-selling espionage novels about a secret agent named Argylle who's on a mission to unravel a global spy syndicate. However, when the plot of her book starts to mirror the covert actions of a real-life spy organization, the line between fiction and reality begins to blur. So is the novel that they put out actually part of the marketing for this film, Sarah? Is that... I
think it is. I don't think it is actually a real novel.
Yeah.
It's like what they did with
very cleverly done.
Yeah. It's like what they did with Blair Witch when they put that thing out on the internet first and made everybody believe it was real footage. So maybe it's that. Dan. I don't know.
So I did hear, I don't know if it was last year, following on from Type 40, Taylor Swift was linked to being the author of Argylle. Did anybody read about
She was somehow linked with this movie, I never quite understood how.
Because nobody could find that Ellie Conway is a real author. For some, I don't know why, but these conspiracy theories seem to think it was Taylor Swift.
This is the whole thing about when everybody thought that the singer Kate Bush had written 2 Doctor Who stories all over.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Well, hold on, right? So she writes a book, and the thing that she writes in the book happens to be true in real life. Is that what the film's about? It becomes true what she's written. All right, gotcha.
It's sort of, it opens up the film in the book, which does confuse but it does establish after sort of, you saw it in the trailer, the really glossy scene of Henry being like in the club and like the woman in the golden dress is there and she's like the villainous character, and it's very sort of to me, it made me think of more old school Bond. Yeah. That sort of really glossy, really sort of luxurious feel of those older Bonds.
But all this sounds very familiar. It sounds like Romancing the Stone, because that's how Romancing the Stone opened, isn't it?
It's very much like Romancing the Stone.
Oh, is it?
Funnily enough, I mean, Romancing the Stone is 40 years old this year, and I saw that film in the cinemas. My age is showing there, but I also bought the tie-in book to that. It was written in the third person by Joan Wilder.
Yeah.
So I remember that very, very well. There's a quote from Matthew Vaughn who says about the casting of Henry Cavill in this is that he went after him because he wanted to cast somebody who he believed that the James Bond people would probably have on their list, and he wanted to get that actor before that he got cast as James Bond and put him in the film.
He did that with Daniel, didn't he?
He
did it with Daniel
Craig. Oh, because he directed Layer Cake, didn't he?
Yeah.
So Yeah, I think I see where they're going. It seems to me, from the perspective of somebody who hasn't seen the film, is that there's a deliberate attempt to create that illusion and the allure, Charlotte, of a classic spy film with all those trappings and all those tropes. To lure people in with that and to have somebody at the dead center of it who looks like they would fill the role of that classic hero, and then to sort of turn the idea kind of inside out. Is that kind of where it goes?
Yeah, I would say you've got sort of the main plot line, which is what you see in the trailer. It's what you've seen in the marketing to do with this author, that she writes these books, that Henry, throughout the movie, is playing her book character, basically. Mm-hmm. And it starts off, you think, oh, that's what this film is.
Yeah.
But then within 20 minutes, I would say, so I'm not good at gauging time, but I'd say within about 20 minutes, you start to see, actually, there's a lot more underneath the surface here. And I think that's what this film did quite well. Mm-hmm. It really had sort of layers and surface stuff that if you just looked at that, you'd think, oh, I'm getting this movie. But actually, it was doing lots of other things sort of to the side, which you didn't notice until it became plot relevant later on in the movie.
Yeah, I'd say everything that gets mentioned, there's an even reason why the cat's there.
And what Henry is basically in this plot, like you think, like you said, he's there because he's sort of been the Bond that's never been sort of for years now. But there's actually quite a bit of there's something else going on with him.
When I look at the promotional posters, the artwork for it, I noticed that Bryce Dallas Howard is there holding the book. So I gather she's Ellie Conway. That's her character.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and when I look at Henry Cavill now in the dead center of this, what I see in the promotional artwork is something slightly more subversive. He may look like James Bond from the neck up, but he's actually dressed like a Bond villain. He's even holding a cat. He's got Dr. No's kind of suit jacket on, Ian, with a high collar like that. And I think, okay, there's something else going on here. And I look across to the films that Rian Johnson has made, Knives Out, where they're kind of ensemble dramas, whimsical whodunits. And I'm wondering, is this actually not a James Bond movie, not a Man from U.N.C.L.E. style thing, but actually a response to that? Is it more of an ensemble feel of a film, Charlotte, than something that is being led by one guy?
I would say definitely this is an ensemble. Like the center point is Ellie and Sam Rockwell's character once he gets introduced. They're sort of like the driving force in the movie. And a lot of it is about them too. But like I said, there's so many twists in this movie. There's so many surprises. Yeah. I watched this with my best mate in the cinema. Afterwards, we were chatting about it and we were like, no, actually, this bit was setting up this. And this bit of dialogue you didn't pay attention to was setting up this whole scene near the end. Like, it's a very dense script. So you have to pay attention. And I think some people's response possibly to this I've seen online, they weren't expecting such a dense plot. And it sort of threw them for a loop a bit, this movie. I don't know what Sarah felt like.
No, I agree. You have to pay attention. And there are some, Vaughn's famous for his twists and turns. If I had a criticism, probably there was possibly maybe too many in the runtime. But yeah, you really got to pay attention. It isn't just a dumb action film, but there is plenty of action in it as well. Because it's Matthew Vaughn, there's not often a lot of time for you to recover after one twist or to get your breath. So I think there is a problem with pacing in that respect.
Sounds like you guys enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it. But generally, no, I didn't feel the time. As I would, with recent Marvel movies, they've really been a slog, even with all the action.
You just sort of go through the motions, where some bits you're laughing, like some bits of this were very funny to me. Some of the blinds, some of the physical acting of that, some sort of with the fighting, because that's also was quite nice. Some of the fight scenes, there's no denying it, they aired on the ridiculous. And I think you sort of just have to accept
but
that.
they know as well.
If it's done with a wink, a wink and a nudge.
Literally, there's a bit where Henry Cavill's like, Ian's going to hate it because he does the full slow motion. He's going down, taking down these baddies, and he kind of looks at the camera and winks. And
Roger Moore.
There's another moment which is brilliant, and it's you see a bit in the trailer. It's the fight scene in the train, and it's gotten a lot more extended in the movie. And there's a bit where basically Ellie gets shoved into a toilet cubicle because Sam Rockwell's character's fighting the actual people that have come to get her. And there's sort of, I don't think it's too spoilery if I say this. Basically, in the movie, at times the author sees Henry Cavill's agent. So she'll be witnessing this fight with Sam Rockwell's character, but because she's in the toilet cubicle, the doors will open and it'll be Sam Rockwell, and then they'll shut, and then they'll open again. It'll be Henry fighting. So it flips, and there's literally a bit where the doors shut and they open, and Henry stood there with a smirk on his face, with the two female people who were previously trying to kill the agent kiss his cheek. And he sort of smirks. So it's so winking and tongue-in-cheek, this movie.
Sam Rockwell is very funny. I'd not realised how funny he was, but his comedy timing was fantastic. And Bryce as well, because I've not really seen her do much comedy.
I've always liked both of them, come to think of it. But I always found her very funny, particularly in the first Jurassic World movie. I thought she was great in that. And I thought that Rockwell, too, was fantastic as Zaphod Beeblebrox all those years ago in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy film.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
And also, this film kind of mirrors... do you remember that one with Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz? And I can't remember what it's called.
Night and Day.
Night and Day. You know what? I liked Night and Day. It was very silly. Yeah. But it was really entertaining.
You both got smiles on your faces when you talk about it. It does seem like you had a really good night at the cinema watching this.
It did. Yeah, I think it did. I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel. All these movies that we've already mentioned, it's not original, but it's very well done. It's very stylized, as you expect from Vaughn. It's just really fun. And I think at the minute, at the cinema, I think we're really lacking in just some good fun.
I always get the impression that Matthew Vaughn's primary motivation is to entertain people.
Yeah, I think...
Well, that's good.
Watching this, it feels like the director and everybody involved just wanted you to have a good time in the cinema. Do you know, in some movies you watch it and you feel like, oh God, they want to either be a serious movie and they want me to feel that, or they want to lecture me of lately, or do you know the sort of things here? It just felt like they just were like, we're having a blast, we're having fun, we're sort of having fun with ourselves, with what we're doing. We want you to have that.
But I have seen a certain amount of clap back from this, whereby some sections of the audience clearly imagined they were getting a straight spy thriller with Cavill playing James Bond. And apparently I know very little about it, but within 10 or 15 minutes, it becomes quite obvious that that's not going to happen. And some people have reacted very, very negatively to that, as if they've been missold something. I mean, it's...
Yeah,
we haven't.
Is that on them, or is that on the filmmaker? That's what I'm wondering.
I think it is on them, because in the trailer, it starts with that scene, but it is clearly, signposted in the trailer that it is about this author. I've seen some people have called it a bait and switch, but I don't think I'd go that far. It wasn't. I don't think they're purposefully, leaning into that for the advertising. What do you think?
I just think he's playing a different role than people thought, because he has got an important role. And once you realise what they're doing with the plot, he's not a bait and switch to me. He was actually in it more than I thought he would be, honestly. I was expecting less of Cavill in this, because I thought, he's there to be this imaginary agent. So we'll probably get a couple of scenes of him, and then it'll be the author's story. It'll be all the other cast, which are clearly the main sort of story beats here. But he's there quite a bit, and I actually think he does some really good sort of different acting in this movie, because of late we've seen him either be a bit sort of dry and sort of dour, whether that's Witcher or Superman, and here he's being playful. He's being sort of, he's playing a different role, and and for me, I really don't understand why people thought he was going to be James Bond in this, because for me the trailer was very clear, like Starry said. This wasn't a James Bond movie with him in.
He did try humor in Men from Uncle. When he was in the Men from Uncle, he was quite humorous in that. So he has done humor before. Yeah. It's just that film really flopped big time, so nobody remembers it.
If people forget, he was in Stardust. He played a tiny role in that movie.
Humphrey.
He was and that was a comedic character then. He was sort of the idiot. He was this posh idiot who sort of was there just to be the obstacle, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So he can do it, but I just think he's sort of been a bit shoehorned in for a good chunk of his career. And finally now, I think with this, with the trailer recently that came out for the Guy Ritchie movie he's doing, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah.
That's a very different role again for him.
I must say, this has gone from a film that initially I really wanted to see to one that I was kind of, I completely veered into the kind of, I'll see it when I see it kind of territory, Ian. I'm not going to rush to see this. But hearing you both talk about it, I actually really want to see this now.
I don't think I'm gonna waste my money on something like this at all. It takes these days. It takes a really, a special or interesting film for me to actually, just make the effort to go to the cinema these days. It really does.
No,
but
and I do get it here. You know, we've got obviously Matthew Vaughn did the Kingsman films, and then we've had James Gunn. There's also a lot of. I mean, if you like Vaughn and you like James Gunn's way of doing things, you'll
especially with the music. The way the music was used in this movie made me think of James Gunn a lot.
Is it because there's sort of pop music in there? There's tunes that we all know that we'll all have had on our Walkmans or our playlists over our lives. Is that what you mean?
It's sort of, do you know how Gunn likes to have his big like fight scenes or action scenes and have music be part of it?
Yeah.
And sort of feed into the action scene.
So does Edgar Wright, doesn't he, Ian? This is something that we see with several directors now.
I even go further. So there's the guy did oh God, what a brain! It's not working today. So did the guy directed Goodfellas, famous director. Scorsese, he championed that, didn't he, in Goodfellas? When we watched Goodfellas, we realized how important music was to actual films. I mean, especially the time time periods that was in that movie. So I mean,
but I would say for me it's a hit and miss for the music. Like some scenes, there's one really big fight scene which I think the music just added loads to it, and it's near the end, Sarah. That's all I'll say.
Yes.
And I think that was used quite well. But there's another scene where you just have to accept the craziness, and the music's part of the craziness. The only thing I could really criticize this movie is sometimes it can be a bit too cartoonish.
What, Matthew Vaughn film being cartoonish?
I know, can you imagine?
There's certain bits of this movie which are probably going to drive you insane.
Because it's not a restrained film, but Vaughn isn't a restrained director. I have to say, some of the film takes place in London. It's a very clean London, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. Well, I haven't seen it.
Place? Is it set in the here and now, or is this a sort of a perhaps land where there's modern technology, such as smartphones and things like that, but maybe the furnishings look like they're from the 70s or something? Because the character that Bryce Dallas Howard is playing does look kind of styled, kind of retro, and some of the other characters as well, they look like they could belong in almost any time. There's nothing that pins them down to being people in 2024.
There's a reason for that, Don.
Oh, I see. Okay, this is very, very interesting. One of the reasons why I tuned out from this is because I'd heard that it was actually going straight to streaming. for one
That's
reason
what I
or another.
heard as well.
To do with distribution of some kind.
Yeah.
But I've since read that Apple stepped in and they paid quite a lot for it to put it in cinemas, and then it'll be exclusive to the Apple streaming platform, the Apple TV. Which I haven't got, so now I'm thinking, well, maybe I should go to the cinema and see this. It does sound like it would be a really, really good time. Do you get the impression, because obviously when I look over at what Rian Johnson's done with Knives Out, he's made 2 of those. Apparently, there's a 3rd and 4th cooking. Do you get the impression that Argylle is setting itself up to perhaps become a franchise for Matthew Vaughn?
The ending gives a possibility for another movie,
but it didn't make much money. The film flopped, according to reports. So now they're not going to carry on with apparently they're not going to carry on with it. So that's what I read anyway. So
has Matthew Vaughn ever had a flop movie?
No, this is his first flop. Yeah. So I think it's not due. I mean, according to Charlotte and Sarah, I don't think it's due to the quality of the film. I think it's due to the times that we live in with the streaming stuff and the TikTok and all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's a different playing
Lots of
field
good films
now.
flop.
Yeah. So.
I think the problem why this might have struggled is because of that mix-up. Because I thought this was streaming originally, and then I was surprised when I saw the trailer saying in theaters. So that could have made people not know if they got in their heads it was streaming.
But I suppose it's a bit of a gamble when the marketing of films costs almost as much as the making of these things. To be kind of clever, to be a little bit tricky with is it A or is it B? Is it this kind of film or that kind of film? There's always going to be the risk. You do that correctly, you time that right, and it can really bring people into the cinema and really catch the public's imagination. But if you get it wrong, for whatever reason, it might not necessarily be anything to do with the content of the movie itself. If you get it wrong in how you market it, how you pitch it, even the quarter that you premiere it in the calendar, then it can all come crumbling down. It does sound like that may have happened. It's still in cinemas, but it would seem like it's probably not going to be for very much longer.
It's not. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. Thanks for the review, girls. Let us know what you think, of course, in the comments section. Have you been to see Argylle too? If so, what did you make of it? Have they got it about right? And would you like to see more of the world of Argylle? And if this has flopped, do you think it could harm Matthew Vaughn's career going forwards? He recently threw his hat into the ring to direct Supergirl for the ECU. Okay, so what else? Yeah, as an aside, I thought this could be fun because it's been a couple of weeks since we got together and did this, Ian. And in the meantime, lots of things have dropped, have been released, have escaped into the wilderness for people to comment on. I'm a vintage geek in that I don't watch sport of any description, and the one I despise more than all the others is probably football. But at least with football, I can work out what's going on in that. When it comes to the game the Americans call football, this is like some sort of weird ritual. I can never work out remotely what's going on, why that geezer's standing over there, why he's covered in all those pads. There is no way I'd ever watch the Super Bowl, but lots of people do, both there and indeed here too. And it's due in no small part to all the pomp around it, all the promo and publicity for upcoming movies. This has been a common draw of the event now for several years. So you've got geeks staying up who wouldn't normally watch a football match of any kind, a football game, whatever. They're staying up to the small hours to get teased and trailered for some of the biggest films that are going to hit over the spring and the summer of the average year. So I've sent you a rolling list of some of the trailers that have been released over the Super Bowl evening that day. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. And I wondered, which ones have you watched? What's caught your eye? And what do you think of this whole phenomena of the sporting event becoming a fixture of the geek calendar as well? To me, it's almost ungodly, Sarah.
Yeah, it's not right, is it? And obviously, England have been copying it for quite a while, which is why we get the Doctor Who announcement at bizarre times, like
Or in the middle of bloody Eurovision.
Eurovision, Wimbledon, football matches.
I thought
It's
that.
Yeah.
You love America, Ian. You've been there several times. You love American
like
culture.
America. Yeah.
Do you understand American football, and what do you make about all this Super
American
Bowl
football is it's kind of like rugby. I mean, they have they stop at certain bits when they get stopped and all that stuff. As far as I can tell, I don't really like sports at all. And it hankers back. I think I've told this story before. Hankers back when we only had 3 channels on TV. I remember my family are all into football and they all support Arsenal. And every time BBC One had the FA Cup, ITV will try and combat it with a Ray Harryhausen movie, like 7 Voyages of Sinbad. And I always wanted to watch that film, but because there was no videos at that time and no streaming, the family wanted to watch football, and I get really pissed off. So that's how I hated football, because football will stop me from watching a good movie. And I grew up hating football, and I still do. I still hate. I don't understand the concept of watching 12 people run around after a ball. Basically, it's just silly to me. But the thing is, though, I don't disrespect football. I understand why there's loads of people and it brings people together. But what I don't understand is people that like football always laugh at me when I say I like Star Wars and Close Encounters and stuff.
I was
like
just
that.
going to say that.
Big difference. What is the difference? Yeah. So why disrespect me when I don't disrespect, sport?
It's all right for them to geek out about football fixtures and players, but not okay for us to do the same.
Exactly.
About police boxes and starships.
Exactly.
And R2D2 and all manner of other things. I know. I think you're right. I think it does bring people together in all seriousness. And one of the things that, and again, being serious and being sincere for a moment, one of the things that I've always admired about the American way of life from an outsider's point of view is that I think they've retained, for a lot of these sporting events, the idea that a whole family can go and see these games together and watch them together. Whereas that's not really the case in Britain anymore. I do know people who do, but they tend not to take their little kids, for example, to a football game. Whereas that probably does happen in the States. I don't know. Let us know in the comments section. Talking about kids, this caught my eye mainly because I had no idea they were still making them. So Despicable Me 4 was one of the trailers that was released on Super Bowl day. And I've seen the first 2. I didn't know they'd made a 3rd one. Big fan of the Minions, love the Minions solo film. But to me, this seems like a franchise that surely it must be past its use by now. And yet when I played the Super Bowl trailer, I hate to admit it, Charlotte, but it did make me laugh. What do you think about Despicable Me? Shouldn't they have knocked this on the head years ago?
Well, the thing is with animation, you can just keep making sequels, can't you? That's like, if Shrek taught us anything, it was that. I saw the first one, like when it was on telly once, and I was actually surprised about how, like, not adult, because that's not the right word, but like the writing was actually of a level beyond just it's a kids movie sort of level writing, the first one. And it was quite a nice little story about him with the girls and like being an adoptive dad. Like that was quite a nice, and we don't see a lot of good dads, I feel like, nowadays. So when we do get a good, even though he's meant to be a villain. But the trailer was fun because it wasn't really a trailer for the movie at all, was it?
No.
It was a complete and utter riff on AI. So that was what made it stand out. It reminded me a bit of, and I think maybe they were copying a tiny bit. I think it was last year, Super Mario Brothers, when they did their big trailer.
How did they do it as well?
It was like an advert. It wasn't an advert for the movie. It was like an in-universe advert for the plumbing services.
Yes, I remember,
that Mario and Luigi did.
What did you think?
I watched the first 2, and I really enjoyed them. I wasn't as keen on the 3rd.
The 3rd? Did I make a 3rd one?
We had a 3rd one,
what was in that one again? Oh no, that was backwards in time, right? That was a prequel.
Minions.
The 3rd one was a prequel.
No, the 3rd one was Gru had a brother. They haven't really got a lot of competition off the Illumination. They're doing a lot better than Disney. So
yeah, they are.
Yeah, they do seem to be hanging on to their audience
between the latest Disney release and a DreamWorks and Illumination. I'm going to go with DreamWorks or Illumination.
Yeah. But the question is the kids going to be a lot older in this one? The girls?
They should be.
They
surely
stayed
at
the
this
same
point.
age throughout all three, didn't they?
Right.
More or less. So this one, they should be teenagers, right? I really liked all of them. Even like the Minions film, I thought it was quite
This
funny.
has played better than I expected. Yeah, I really like the Minions movie,
Minions is
but I
funny.
had no idea there was a third Despicable Me. So I was very surprised to see a fourth one turn up. Almost as surprised as I was to see this. This is a sequel to an old film from the 90s.
No, it won't be as good.
So, yeah, this is Twisters. It's out in July. We've got a teaser poster to go with that trailer. The premise of this is pretty simple. It's storm chasers, isn't it? That's the idea. It's thrill seekers. And yeah, it is based on the 1996 movie from the director of Speed, Jan de Bont, wasn't it? And the producers of Jurassic Park, they hyped this film up so much back in 1996. And when I went to see it, I was so disappointed. It just didn't work for me at all. But in the interim, in the nearly 28 years, my God, 28 years since then, this thing has been shown on ITV2 so many times. It's always on British television and has become, as I understand it, very, very popular. And I say that, Sarah, you just recoiled. It's so popular with you. You've recoiled at the idea that they could sequel this and ruin it. So you've obviously got a very different take and you really enjoyed it. So I'm starting to think maybe I should go back and watch this again and get ready for Twisters, because I thought this trailer was actually pretty good.
It is, but the magic's in the casting, because it's Bill Paxton, God bless him, and Helen Hunt, and it's their chemistry. I think that that really made the film. Yeah, and everything's better with Bill Paxton in it, anyway. But I did go to see it.
So did I.
All of those, because every year there was something. There was Speed, Independence Day, Dante's Peak, Volcano. I saw them all. I love but we're obviously building on that, 90s nostalgia now. We've moved on from the 80s. But yeah, I just don't want it to fall into the same trap of like, all right, the Twisters are going to look amazing because of the effects, but is it going to be another rubbish, character we don't care about?
But that's the reason why it's not going to work for me, because when I saw the trailer for the first Twister, I was amazed with the special effects. I was like, wow, how did they do that? Now we know how they do it, and it's become unsatisfying to see. The trailer the first trailer of Twisters really knocked everyone for six, because it's like, wow, how the hell did they do this? Now we know how it's all done, showing us this and people flying around and stuff like that. You've seen it so many times.
The main vibe I was getting, and this was the main, honestly, one that I sort of had no reaction to, honestly, when I went through them, because I watched the original. Like I said, it's been on ITV2. That's probably where I watched it, like always. And for me, I watched this trailer and it didn't look any different. It just looked like the same literal story beats. The same sort of characters. They've not done anything off the trailer anyway to really show they've developed. You've still got the cocky sort of idiot who's like, oh, I'm famous because I chase Twisters. You've got the serious scientist looking woman, and then you've sort of got the sort of good every person, like the third member of that crew who was like the normal one out of the three of them. So to me, it just didn't look any like they've done anything.
It just looks like an exercise in 90s nostalgia. You got the guy in the aviators with the cowboy hat on.
The reason why because I saw Twister and I thought it was okay, and there was really hardly any characterization in it, but they didn't need to do characterization because we knew Helen Hunt from that long-running sitcom. So we know who she is. So that was the power of
she was in Mad
stars.
About You, wasn't
exactly,
she? With Paul Reiser.
So that's the power of stars in those days. You would take someone from a famous TV show, put them in the film, and immediately you would connect with that character because of what she'd done in the past. And that's the power of movie stars. That's why you put them in films. You put Brad Pitt in a film. You've seen Brad Pitt in other films, therefore you'll be attracted to it, or therefore you'll know that character.
But obviously, movie stars are very, very expensive to book, aren't they? And maybe.
But these three, I know nothing.
Same.
So one, I'm not attracted by the movie stars to go and see this film, and two, the effects isn't so special because we've seen it so many times. So what else is left? I don't know.
I recognise the girl. She's a British actress who was in Cold Feet, the ITV comedy drama. I'm a massive fan of Cold Feet. She played the daughter of Hermione Norris's character in that.
Right.
But I've never seen anybody else ever before in my life. I do think don't recognise any of them.
No, I don't know.
I agree with everything that you've said. I thought this trailer was fantastic in many ways. I thought this is a film that I will see, but I won't go and see it at the cinema. I'll probably watch the first one again, and then I'll watch this, and it'll be a fun kind of double header kind of thing that I'll watch. And it'll be, it wasn't the 90s great, all that kind of thing. And I'll probably enjoy it for what it is, but I'm not going to rush to the cinema to see it. This film has been in gestation for a really long period of time. Why now? Was it? But when I watched the trailer, because I got the impression that it's partly the fashion now for 90s nostalgia, but I've also considered, was it also partially the success of Top Gun Maverick? Because you've got the guy with the cowboy hat and the aviator sunglasses in this as well, with the big, bright, all-American smile. It does feel like a proper American blockbuster movie that you would go and see in the multiplex in the 90s, Sarah, and maybe that it's another attempt to bring people back in, because obviously Maverick hit really, really big, to get people back in, even to some tiny proportion of what that film made. It will count as a success for Twisters if people do get off their backsides and go to the cinema to see it. And maybe they will.
It could well be, but I think Maverick had got the star power of Tom Cruise.
I don't think you could just get, for example, Dennis Quaid, somebody who was big around that time, or even Tom Hanks, and just get them to get Tom Hanks to play big again, or to put them in a film and hope it could replicate Top Gun Maverick exactly. But I think you can ride off the success of something. By offering something which is a kind of a cheaper version of the same kind of elements that made it a success. I think
they're not offering much, though, are they? I mean, the effects look the same as the first Twister, and there's no stars. There's no people that I recognize.
I must say, if somebody was to show me a clip from this and say it was from the 96 one, I'd believe them. I think it could be a generational thing as well, though, Ian. I mean, there are some things that if they produce sequels to certain 80s properties, which absolutely would get me in the cinema pretty much no matter what, because that was the time where I was watching everything. I will go and see that new Karate Kid movie. But what I'm saying, to go back to the point, is that I will always turn out for that. I think for the people who are 10 years younger than me, who were at the cinemas watching Twister, and films like it, films from around that time, maybe there are films that they will always turn out for as well.
So you reckon people are going to go and see Twisters?
I have no, mate. I wouldn't surprise me, because I don't understand why this film is so. I don't understand why Twister is so popular anyway. Like I say, I saw it in the 90s. Yeah, I saw it in the 90s. I didn't think it was. I just thought it was a bit very, very average. So the longevity of it for me just bewilders me. So if I don't understand the appeal of the first one, I think okay, all bets are off. But it seems I'm wrong. I'm in the minority. Yeah, maybe lots of people will turn out for this. So I'm not an expert on everything, so that's how I look at it. Also dropping at the Super Bowl, again, something I know next to nothing about, but I've always been a little curious about, mainly because one of the films I think that I watched the most as a child was The Wizard of Oz, starring Judy Garland. I grew up watching this film. It was a classic even then. Now, I think isn't it about to hit its 90th anniversary, something like that?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
And the allure of this film has never really dimmed. It's beautiful in many respects, and there have been animated sequels and remakes. There've been all manner of other projects connected to Oz that have come out over the years. But the one that's interested me the very, very least was a musical version of it. Now, I know what you're thinking, Dan, but The Wizard of Oz is a musical. Yeah. Yes, it is, but it's not a kind of stage kids West End kind of cringy musical. That's the kind of thing that tunes me off. I like old Hollywood musical movies that were conceived for the screen. Obviously, The Wizard of Oz was originally a book, but you know what I'm saying. obviously Wicked, the stage musical, has been running for quite a long time now, the best part of 20 years, I understand, Sarah.
Yeah.
And I have never once considered going to see it under any circumstances whatsoever. The fact that they've now turned it into this film, which is apparently going to be a 2-part movie event of Wicked. We're going to get the first half Thanksgiving this year, so that's late November, isn't it? I got this really, I have to say, I really do love this poster. I think it's fantastic. It reminds me a little bit of Frozen. It's the thing about the word sisters in Frozen, isn't it? But in this, they're best friends. So, but the conceit of it seems to be that the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda, the Good Witch, those two characters from The Wizard of Oz, way back before the events of the classic film, the classic story, it turns out they were best friends. That seems to be the starting point. So I watched this trailer with unease, Charlotte, unease. Are you musical people? Any of you? You know, stage musicals is your thing?
I do like.
Why am I not surprised?
Ian's just going to hate us now.
No. My sister saw it. She said it was awful.
I think the thing is with this, though, because of how beloved, and it is absolutely, like, if you're into musical theatre,
it's considered to be really up there, isn't it?
This musical, and more importantly, the music for Wicked. That's sort of, because the story isn't that out there or revolutionary at all. It's like you said, it's this idea of let's go before we know these characters and they were actually friends and how they end up being enemies when we see them in Wizard of Oz. But it's the songs, it's the lyrics, which are just nearly every theatre kid knows these songs. They adore these songs. They've covered these songs to death in stage shows.
Yeah.
So I think this is actually going to have a lot to live up to.
Curious decision to split it into two. It just seems like the kind of, it's a money grab.
Because at the theatre, you get intermissions, don't you? Still in between acts 1 and 2 of a show. I mean, a show's like this quite long. It's been a long time since I've seen a stage musical.
It depends on the show. Some of them can be absolutely ridiculous. But I tell you what I did appreciate. We actually got some of the song in the trailer, because they love to do that in musical trailers, not actually have the music.
Yeah. that was the thing that struck me, because when I watched the trailer for this, there didn't seem to be many hints. If I didn't know it was a musical, I know there probably can't be many people in the world who don't know that Wicked is a musical. If I didn't know, this trailer wouldn't necessarily give that away. It looks like a trailer for a typical kind of modern day fantasy movie. The visuals are absolutely spectacular. I can't knock them for that. Really evocative, very, very memorable. And I like the fact that it's not over-designed. I like the fact that a lot of it seems quite simple.
But did it deliberately, Dan? They did it deliberately, like they did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the one with what's his name, Charmaine, whatever his name is, that fella. Because if you watch that trailer, you'd never guess it was a musical. And then my sister dragged me to see the film, and it was a musical. So it seems like when they put these trailers out, especially for musicals, that they're scared if they show it's a musical, people won't go and see it. So it's kind of a bit of a con.
Oh yeah, no. And I'm just saying, compared to other trailers, that at least you heard Beats of Defying Gravity, which is like the hits, like the song.
Yeah, that is the one. Yeah,
doesn't interest me at all for some reason.
Changing the mood. Changing the mood completely. There was also a trailer released for this Monkey Man, which is directed. This is directed by Dev Patel, and it does seem to be. This seems to be a bit of a riff on the John Wick kind of formula. Yeah. Angry man in a suit with a small concealed weapon, goes around and gives a lot of people a good hiding. Is that what you're picking up as well, Ian?
Yeah, it does. It doesn't interest me at all. It looks really stupid, and not in a good way either. You know what I mean? It's just like it was like, am I mistaken? He wears this mask, doesn't he? And he exacts justice, and it's just the whole idea is stupid. I would be really surprised if this was a huge hit. Really, really surprised, but it just looks dumb.
Yeah, I'm a bit baffled by it, really. I didn't hate it, but I think this is the only trailer that we've watched where I've not really felt much, because we've already had Taken with Liam Neeson. We've already got Keanu Reeves with John Wick. Like you say, it's this vigilante type. It's been done, and it's been done a lot more interesting.
Yes.
And so I'm like, it's not really my cup of tea.
It does seem to have been a pet project for him that was originally intended for Netflix, which in the end Netflix rejected. But the producer and director Jordan Peele has come to the rescue and financed a major release of this film. It wouldn't surprise me if this was successful, if it finds an audience. I think it'll depend on when it comes out, whether it captures people's imaginations or not. But I don't know. I think that we're several years on from John Wick. I think that they things are changing, things are evolving. And although I like to see people that I like having fun and making the films they want to make, this is a film that I will forget all about until I see it streaming, eventually probably on Netflix or on Amazon Prime or somewhere. I think, that's the film that guy from that other film did. And so it's nice to see an action film in there, against contrasting with the Wickeds and the Despicable Me.
If anything, we've had quite a lot of good action the last couple of years. We've had, like you said, Keanu Reeves with John Wick. We've had very high concept or just very fun action movies again.
Nobody
so
was good.
It's a really crowded market.
Maybe we shouldn't knock it for that. Maybe we shouldn't knock it for the fact that we can't tell what it's all about from a simple trailer.
Well, the trailer's meant to bring you close to what it's about and entice you. But sorry, a man running around with a monkey mask doesn't entice me at all. It's not cool. In other words, it's not. It really isn't.
I'd have to see a proper trailer to even consider spending an hour and a half watching the Monkey Man. But as I say, this is an actor that I like. I want to see good people doing good stuff. I'm just not necessarily sure that indulging pet projects like this and being bankrolled by a very strange person in Jordan Peele, somebody I do consider to be talented, but the choices that he makes are very, very bizarre. I'd rather stick with proper action. There's slightly less fur on the face of the bloke who's starring in this, but not much. He's got quite a lot of. He's got quite a lot of stubble going on. Has Ryan Gosling in The Fall Guy? No. So we've had a couple of trailers now for this. This is from the director of Bullet Train, amongst other things. It's finally out. This is the first one, in fact, I think that's out. It's out in just a few weeks' time for Easter. Long-awaited movie based on the classic 80s action series that starred Lee Majors. There with Heather Thomas and Douglas Barr was the other guy's name. I loved this show when I was a kid. Colt Seavers, obviously, he was a stuntman. If you remember, Ian, wasn't he? He
did bounty hunting to bring in the money, doing the stunts. He didn't earn enough. So on a side job, he was a bounty hunter. That was the whole concept of The Fall Guy.
It was a very simple idea. This was a standard action show, but as with a lot of these shows, the selling points did tend to be the charisma of the lead man. You got it with David Hasselhoff in Knight Rider. Lee Majors had done it very successfully as the lead of The $6 Million Man, which is a very straight show. The Fall Guy was a lot of fun, wasn't it? I think it was on for about 5 years. I've always wanted to watch it again. I'm delighted to see that the director, who generally speaking, I like the things that David Leitch makes, that he's cranked this out. He does. Apparently, he's a fan of the original show. He's got Emily Blunt in this as the sexy co-star. This, again, just like we were saying about Top Gun Maverick, this is the kind of movie that they used to make. You got the classic wise guy hero. You got the pretty girl. You got a load of action. Stuff's getting blown up. There's lots of one-liners. I'm getting a lot of good vibes about this film. I really think that this is absolutely for me.
Yeah, I saw this. This was in the trailers.
Same.
The Argylle. Absolutely, yes. This got everything for me, I will definitely be seeing this.
Ryan Gosling is hotter than ever right now, isn't he, off the back of Barbie, that was a gamble for him. He's been around for about 10, 15 years in movies, but obviously he was acting when he was a child on Disney and Young Hercules and all these other things that he's done. It does seem to be that the man's star is in a permanent sort of ascendance, and the time could be right to launch what could be a major franchise for him, where he gets to play his childhood hero, Charlotte. I mean, what did you think of this? Do you like this kind of gung-ho action, old-fashioned action movie?
Well, when I saw the trailer, I had no context to the old show, so it was a completely new sort of concept to me watching it for the first time. And yeah, I think they've cast this brilliantly. Like you said, Ryan is such a good lead because he can be cocky and sort of full of himself, but you still like him. And it's hard to explain, but he can be these sort of characters that I think other actors you wouldn't like in these roles, but Ryan's just got this charm or charisma or just something about him. And it's like the scenes when like he's trying to not get killed in the trailer, he's just so funny as well. Yeah. And I just think he's the perfect.
Naturally funny.
And Emily Blunt, I loved her in Live, Die, Repeat. So we know she can do sort of tough girl very well, but not be like stereotypical tough girl, actually have a bit more to her.
Really good actress, in my opinion. And I've always liked Ryan Gosling as well. He's that rare thing, Ian, of being the kind of the screen hunk that the women fancy, that blokes don't mind watching either. He seems to have that kind of universal appeal, which is almost like lightning in a bottle, because as men, we often resent these pretty boys, don't we? But that hasn't happened with Ryan Gosling. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't think this is. But personally, when I watch this trailer, I'm like, this is nothing like the Fall Guy, the TV show. Also, I'm aghast now. Again, they're not portraying the hero as the hero. He seems very kind of stupid and soft. And you know what I mean? Unlike Colt Seavers in the TV show, who used to smoke a cigar, was always mostly in control of what he was doing. Yes, he made a couple of mistakes along the way. He was always up against someone that was bigger than him, trying to bring him in for bounty and stuff like that. And Howie was his sidekick, but Howie always got him in trouble with certain things as well. I can't remember Heather Thomas's relationship within that team, but it seems like they just forgot about the TV show, and now they're doing their own thing. Which, why would you call it the Fall Guy then? Might just call it something else. The premise. I mean, the simple fact of the matter is, as I said when we mentioned the show earlier on, I love this series, but it was a pretty generic 80s action show. Swap out the stuntman for the copper. The dynamic was always largely the same. I think the idea of taking that character and that principle of the stuntman who does other things on the side, getting embroiled in whatever, I think that's where the real gold is. I don't think you see where I'm prepared to endorse this movie is that this isn't Ben Stiller's Starsky and Hutch, for example. That was terrible.
This isn't some postmodern subversion about how these machoistic characters from 80s, 90s action movies were a bad thing and were toxic in some way. This is just like Top Gun Maverick, of the success of that film. This does feel like this is a celebration almost of masculinity.
I got that feeling as well. Like it's
absolutely
like a love letter to that just that era and that genre, like the partnership between the man and woman, the very traditional roles we've seen. It felt very old-fashioned to me, but still.
Well, we've already mentioned.
You watching the trailer?
With like a modern.
Well, we mentioned earlier on in the show when we talked about Argylle, we mentioned Romance in the Stone, and I got Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. Absolutely, from this, it's that kind of dynamic. It's that kind of energy.
I don't know. The Ryan Gosling character in the trailer seems stupid. Like the bit where I saw the trailer where he goes into the bathroom and somebody's dead in the thing, and he's trying to talk to the policeman and stuff like that. But Colt Seavers was never like that. I'm assuming they're changing it for modern audiences and stuff.
In the TV show, though, it was a very thinly sketched character. We are 40 years on.
No, but he wasn't a thinly sketched character. We knew exactly who Colt was. Colt was he was quite macho because he was a stuntman.
Yeah, he was, but it was hardly. It was hardly a high. What I'm saying is, it was hardly a high concept show that would be hard to replicate. As long as something's got the same general sort of spirit,
but it doesn't
at the time. And to me,
did you ever used to watch the show?
Really clear. I watched it every week for 5 years.
It never. But this is nothing like the show.
Admittedly, I haven't seen it. No, I'm not saying it is because.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about what was a cheap, cheerful action show that was broadcast in the mid-'80s. This is a very expensive film that's been made 40 years on with major movie stars.
Yeah, but you can't. Look, that character doesn't look macho to me at all. He doesn't look tough. He looks like he's very lost. Yeah. And he looks like, you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying, Ian.
Yeah,
I don't think that's part. Don't you think that's going to be part of his journey?
No. I think that's part of what's happening today, right? And that's one of the reasons why I won't go to see movies like this, because I think they're shitting all over being a man kind of thing, if you know what I mean. So, but as I said, if you watch the old,
what about the hero's journey though, where a character starts off like Luke Skywalker, who starts as a kind of bitchy kid living on a farm.
He wasn't
somewhere.
Bitchy. By
the end of that film, he's a hero. Yes. What's to say that this is a motion picture? This is a movie. It's got to have some journey for the characters to go on, rather than just be that sort of punch 'em up of the week action show, which I absolutely loved. This is a movie at the end of the day. I think we should perhaps. I don't know.
No, well, it's obvious they've changed the character for this movie, and again, right? If you I think that's wrong. I think you should, if you're going to do.
When you say change, you see, I view it I view these sorts of things in as an adjustment rather than a change.
No, it's a change.
Until we've seen the story that the character, the transformation, the journey that the character goes through on screen. Maybe he's all washed up at the start of the movie. Maybe all the movies he's been in have been like bombs, and he's getting sick of picking splinters out of his arse.
This one,
and he's thinking about going and doing something else. We don't know because we haven't watched it yet. I just think we could be a little more generous.
No, it's not. No. I see. I tell you how I see it, right? And I'm telling you that it doesn't look like the Colt that was in the TV show. The Colt in the TV show, he was very clever, right? And he knew that if he did certain stunts, that he'd be risking his life, as loads of stuntmen know. And that was one of the basis of his character as well. But also, he wasn't making enough money, and he was strapped for cash, and he was doing the bounty hunting thing, wasn't he? This looks like this character is not Colt Seavers. It's something else. You know, and if they want to go down that route, that's what they want to do.
They've got around 2 hours here to blow stuff up, to get people on the edge of their seats, to get people to fall in love with either of the leads, depending on one's orientation, to hopefully to tell a story which will get us to hang on to whatever's going on and invest, and to make us laugh as well. I think that we've seen there are 2 trailers out for this. For me, in my view, holding up a simple movie based on a really simple TV show, and holding it up to an unreasonable standard, and demanding that it be X, Y, and Z is a little unrealistic. And I just think that when we live in an age where we complain that they haven't been making movies like this, we see one appear, and then we start tearing into it for the 2 or 3 things it appears not to be doing at a first glance when we haven't seen it.
Yeah, but then you've asked me to critique the trailer. I don't know what the film's like, but I can only tell you what I think of the trailer, and that's exactly what I've done. You know, I don't know.
think
The film might be terrific. Who knows? I don't know. But going by the trailer,
you do sound very judgmental and very
but this is but Dan,
this is
very but isn't this my job? You call me on this.
This is true. I want to see the film, but now Ian's made me want to watch the series as well.
Right, okay.
The series is lovely. The series is great. I haven't seen it for a very, very long time.
Dan, do you remember he used to be in the wooden bathtub with the cigar, outside his. Apparently, that was the producer's real one of the homes he owned in the and there'd be like scenes in it where he'd be. Because he's very macho. With a name like Colt Seavers, come on, you know what I mean?
it was obviously based on the success of the Burt Reynolds movie Hooper, wasn't it? About the summer. But one of the reasons I'm so excited about this film is because I hope that we will finally get a box set of the entire original series released. Because you can only get seasons 1 and 2 at the moment, and I really need to get all 5 seasons of The Fall Guy on my shelf and into my collection.
You're a big collection,
One more big one to talk about, I think, and it has to be this. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which began in 2008, has fallen upon the hardest of times in the last couple of years. Successive film after film pretty much bombing at the box office, and even the people who do take the time to go and see it and lay down their money at the cinema to see the latest slice of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have found it very, very wanting. So much so that they've scaled things back drastically. They're rethinking their TV output entirely. And there's just one film in the cinemas in this calendar year. It's this one. It's Deadpool. Deadpool and Wolverine come together on July the 26th from Marvel Studios. This is the first teaser poster. We've got the first teaser trailer as well, which doesn't feature a great deal of Hugh Jackman, who returns to the role of Wolverine, a role that he said twice that this is absolutely the last time, and the last time. But he's back anyway.
He's like the Canadian Daniel Craig at this point.
I know.
He is. Great to see him in this picture here, in the nearest we're going to ever see to the classic comic book costume for Wolverine, striding next to Ryan Reynolds, returning as Deadpool for a third time. I am a long-term comic books reader. I think I've said before, I thought the Deadpool comics were terrible back in the 90s. I've got his first appearance in my collection even, but it just never charmed me. The whole breaking the fourth wall thing never did anything for me. But I have to admit, I thought that both the movies, the second of which was directed by David Leitch, who's making The Fall Guy come to the committee, I think both the movies are pretty damn good. Although it's been about 5 or 6 years since the last one, since Deadpool 2 there, and I think even longer since Hugh Jackman played Logan, played Wolverine in Logan, should I say, getting them together on screen to recreate that partnership from the comics that so many readers do enjoy. You know, I accept that I am in the minority. A lot of fans really, really love this stuff. This could be dynamite, and I'd say this stands a chance of being the hit that Marvel Studios so desperately needs. Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, ever since it was teased, I love everything that's gone off between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. I could just watch just them two all day. I think they're hilarious. So, I think this is going to be a hit. My only concern is it's Disney now. It's going to be difficult to keep that tone of the first two Deadpool films, because obviously they are going to have to limit it. But I think this is exactly what Marvel needs, and I think this is kind of like make or break for them now. If this doesn't do well, I think that's it.
I think we all hope with this movie, I think that's the best way to describe it, that Disney and Marvel are in such a prime position to be absolutely taken the mick out of, to be absolutely sort of satirized, and all their faults sort of being put on full display. That's what Deadpool is as a character. nothing's containing this movie. But like Sarah said, it's how much has Disney allowed him to do? How much have Marvel allowed Ryan to get away with here?
Well, he's one of the very few actors who seems to be able to command creatively. They listen to him, is what I'm saying, and they don't seem to listen to anybody else.
I forgot that both of them really can't die. I mean, I think Wolverine, if you burnt him and everything disappeared from him, he'll die. But Deadpool won't. You know, he'll somehow regenerate himself out of a little speck and come back. So both of them have that in common, don't they? Yeah.
I want this to be. Can you remember Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn in Death Become Her? I want that level of banter and that. They can't properly die, and I think if it's done well, it's going to be absolutely hilarious.
That's the conceit in the comics, the fact that because neither of them can actually die, they could technically keep fighting forever, keep winding one another up indefinitely. And but it's kind of, but because neither of them can really properly die, then they may as well work together to accomplish what they can and accept the fact they get on each other's tits. That's the general principle as I understand it.
I mean, the thing that really pissed me off about the trailer was the TVA. And I hate all that stuff with the Loki and all that rubbish. That's the only thing that pissed me off. But the bit I laughed at most is the ending. Don't they stand there stupid? Help me up. He's extreme. And he's like, forget it. I know, that was quite funny. Funny.
The smart thing, Ian, they should do with this is to cut as many of the connective tissue to the stuff that's failing as possible. I've no problem with the time variance authority being in there, as long as one doesn't have to have sat through that terrible Loki TV show to understand what's going on. I think you can reestablish those characters, and people who haven't seen that show can go, "Oh, I get it. They're like time and space police force." And you could probably do that in 20 seconds, and people will work out what's going on. I think that should be okay. And I think that the whole multiverse thing, the bubble is about to really burst on the idea of a multiverse. I think people are sick of it already, and this will just about get in there and kind of lampoon all that stuff, which is, it's only really hit a couple of years ago with Spider-Man No Way Home, but I really think people are sick of it already. And this will subvert it and hopefully be the kind of last word on that, and give Marvel Studios enough room to remind people why we like their films in the first place, Charlotte.
Well, yeah, and even in that scene where it was TVA, said, I don't watch Loki, I don't know, but it showed all the Marvel movies. And him being like, I'm Marvel's Jesus.
Jesus Marvel or Marvel Jesus. Yeah.
So it seems to me like they are going to at least touch upon the multiverse stuff. And and even in the trailer also there was a whole, well, Disney hasn't done this joke.
Yes.
So I'm, like I said, but I think the other thing is, it's just the chemistry of those two blokes. Like, we've seen it in the little videos they've been doing as promotion. And it's it needs to be, for me, sort of like an older brother in Wolverine with his annoying kid brother that he can't get to shut up. Like, that needs to be the chemistry between these two.
You're absolutely right. This is Noel and Liam Gallagher as superheroes.
You're
absolutely right.
But I've got to say, it's just seeing Hugh Jackman in that suit, because I watched the X-Men animated series. I was brought up on that, and it's a joy to see that suit. And it's just a joy because Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. There isn't anybody else.
Yeah,
so true. This is his. I mean, for how good Logan was, and it was really good, but it was a very heavy going, gritty.
Yeah.
So if it'd be nice for him to have this kind of last hurrah and have a bit of fun with it.
We saw that suit in one of the films, didn't we? It was in a suitcase. I can't remember which one it was.
Right at the end of was it at the end of the Wolverine, the second one, the first James Mangold movie?
Can't remember. It
was just one where he was in Japan.
Yeah, and the mask. They had the mask in the.
But it was a cheat because he didn't wear it.
He didn't wear it. No. Yeah, it's a bit of a cheat. Yeah. It looks good though.
I haven't seen a Marvel movie since Spider-Man No Way Home.
Same here.
I haven't missed the MCU remotely.
Oh, no.
If I go and see it,
Sorry.
If I do go and see Deadpool and Wolverine at the cinema, it will be a bit of a punt for me because I, as far as I'm concerned, I was done with this brand. But I'm not done with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. I think they're both fantastic. I agree with you completely about the marketing of this, Sarah. The way it's been pitched with those two guys playing themselves, interacting and doing the kind of, oh, should we team up for this film shtick? It really works when they do it. It's the kind of thing, and this is why when I see Michael Sheen and David Tennant try to do the same thing, I think, oh, come on. It is so pitifully, it's so cringe compared to the stuff that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are doing between them. And I probably will go and see this. I think this, out of all the films that we've seen the trailers for so far, this is the closest we're going to see to a surefire hit anywhere this year. And I speak as somebody, as I say, it wouldn't have bothered me if I'd never seen another Deadpool movie again. And although I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, when he said that was that, I thought, well, fair enough, mate. Thank you for your service. Yeah, cheers. But getting them back, it is kind of irresistible. I think it's absolutely the film that Marvel Studios need because they are screwed. It's the film that they need, but I think it could also be the film that 2024 needs. And people should probably, just swallow their pride and go and see. Because I think that these two blokes genuinely want to entertain us and give us a good time at the cinema. And there could be stuff in there that winds us up, maybe. I don't know. But for the most part, I think it stands a chance of being a bit of a crowd pleaser. Will you go and see it, Ian?
Yeah, probably. I heard there's a rumor that Patrick Stewart might be in it as well. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I mean, the idea of seeing Wolverine again is probably going to be the biggest attraction for me. Seeing him, and also seeing him in the cartoon costume as well. That's going to be interesting as well. I wonder if he's going to wear the mask though. That's going to be a big one, isn't there?
He's got to. Oh, he's got to.
Yeah, he's got to.
All right, he'll do it in the after credit scene.
Yeah.
Oh God! And you know what I'm going to do if I do go and see this at the cinema? I'm going to go before all the mid-credit scenes, all the end credit scenes. I don't care what comes next. I don't care what Disney and Marvel want me to watch next. I just want to enjoy this film and go home. I'd be quite happy. Thank you very much. Will you go and see this one, Charlotte? I mean, how do you go to the cinema a lot, or does it take something? Does it take Henry Cavill to get you into the cinema?
No, I watch Oppenheimer in the cinema, so it's not just Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
It's something that it has to be something I'm really excited for because I love the experience, but it's expensive. Like I don't want to do it for every movie. It has to be something that's really got my interest.
It is what it is today. It's a very different experience when you go to the cinema, isn't it? So
you don't know what you're going to get. Thanks for that, Forrest. Yes. So that was a roundup, some morsels there from the Super Bowl trailers. There was and is more. We'll probably look at more on another show at some point in the future. But let us know what you think of the ones that we've looked at this time in the comments section there. I'd love to know your thoughts on those trailers. What's guaranteed to get you into the cinema, or is it all wrapped up for you and you're happy with streaming? You would never give Marvel or Disney your money, no matter who they drag out for one last hurrah. Is it all over and done with for you with them? I think generally speaking, see, this is the thing. Reading the list, this is the first year in several years where I've looked down the list of trailers that have been released at Super Bowl and thought, I don't hate the thought of all of these. There's actually some which I wouldn't mind seeing. So I thought it was kind of worth talking about, worth gauging, because the damn culture war, I believe that's being artificially extended anyway. And the simple fact is the studios have run out of other people's money to burn. They've run out of IPs to burn. Somebody's going to have to start making decent movies again. I think Tom Cruise probably did a couple of years ago. We're now seeing, I believe we're now starting to see the ripples from that. And I really do think that that's what's led to the Fall Guy. But I suspect there'll be more to come. We shall see. Let us know what you think while we're out wombling free, everybody. Thanks for coming on, girls. It's nice to have you on the show, on the other show, talking about something that isn't the bloke in the blue box.
It's fun to show we also watch other stuff and we are interested in other things.
Yeah, we have other interests.
Who'd have thought it? Whereas, myself and Ian, we argue about this stuff Absolutely, all the time. Where's because you've been hard at work on Rebecca Gold for the last few weeks, again, haven't you? Filming, sharing stuff on social media.
Yeah, it's getting harder, but you know, I enjoy the process anyway. I mean, you know, it's working around the actors. That's basically what it is, and I am working around the actors. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I think you guys are gonna like it. I mean, it's not all about shooting and killing people and stuff like that. There is some kind of heart to it, but also she is not a Mary Sue. I like to stress that.
That's the most important thing, yes.
And people can support your efforts to continue the saga of Rebecca Gold, can't they?
It's a GoFundMe. I mean, this week I collected over £100. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's a good start.
The link to your GoFundMe, that will be in the description of every edition of this show and up on the channel too, so people will be not in any doubt about where they can go to, not just to see Rebecca Gold, the story so far, but how to support you in efforts to bring more to the screen. Yeah, make no mistake about that. And that's us done for another week. Say another week and a bit in Geek. Please drop us a comment about any of the trailers that we've been speaking about. Thank you for your company, Charlotte and Sarah. I'll definitely see you on the next one, Ian. But that's it. We'll see you out there somewhere next time.